7:42 a.m. local time, Eastern Caribbean Sea. The warning chime on the USS Gerald R. Ford's radar console fires once. Sharp, precise, and completely out of place. 3 new surface returns just blinked into existence, where nothing was supposed to be. Not an approach, not a slow fade-in, they appeared as a formation. Bridge, CIC, unknown contacts just popped up on the scope. Bearing 182, 14 miles, movement doesn't match commercial traffic. Heads turn, chairs slide. Nobody expected this. The Ford is in transit to a multinational exercise zone near the Barbados, running a predictable course on a predictable schedule. But these contacts? They're doing something no merchant ship bothers to do. Their speed is identical to the Ford's, their bearing is locked, their spacing is tight. They're shadowing. And the timing couldn't be worse. For 2 days, Venezuela has pushed extra patrols into the region after a string of smuggling intercept operations triggered political noise back in Caracas. Public speeches, accusations of foreign interference, and new Bolivarian security patrols hugging their maritime routes. None of this was directed at the U.S. Navy, but radar doesn't show intentions, only behavior. And right now, the behavior looks deliberate. For the Ford's watch team, the timing of these contacts isn't random. It fits too neatly into a pattern that started 48 hours earlier. 2 days ago, U.S. Coast Guard and Navy units carried out a string of smuggling intercepts in the Eastern Pacific. Routine operations, nothing dramatic, but the political reaction wasn't routine at all. Caracas accused foreign forces of meddling near the maritime economy, even though the events happened thousands of miles from Venezuelan waters. Within hours, Venezuela increased its naval readiness level. Small patrol ships began reporting heightened vigilance zones. State media praised new Bolivarian security patrols, and AIS gaps along their coastline suddenly grew wider. None of that pointed to aggression, but it did point to a Navy that felt watched, cornered, or misunderstood. And that's where misunderstandings at sea begin. On the Ford, the tactical action officer flips through the overnight intel digest. Multiple entries stand out. Venezuelan offshore patrols extended further east than usual. Their maritime patrol aircraft flew irregular tracks near Trinidad's corridor. Several coastal radar buoys were activated that hadn't pinged in months. None of it threatened the Ford. None of it required action. But it did mean one thing. Venezuela was nervous enough to put more sensors, more eyes, and more steel into the water. And when a Navy sails while feeling cornered, even routine traffic stops looking routine on radar. The Ford's captain says it quietly, almost to himself. Nothing they did was aimed at us, but the ocean doesn't care about politics. On radar, the 3 contacts hold formation. No drift, no deviation. They're waiting. The 3 unknown contacts don't act like ships passing through any busy corridor. They act like ships that already made up their mind. 10 to 12 nautical miles out, 2 Guy Carey-class offshore patrol vessels hold a clean parallel track to the Ford. Not closing, not retreating, just sitting in that uncomfortable space where every movement feels intentional. A third, smaller Geica-Makuto-type patrol craft lingers behind them, its speed fluctuating just enough to look like it's coordinating. Bridge, CIC, contacts maintaining 182, matching our speed within 1/10 of a knot. That line is all the confirmation the Ford needs. Ships don't match speed by accident, not at these distances, not with this precision. Still, the Venezuelan vessels aren't doing anything overt. No weapons out, no fast turns, no radio calls. It's shadowing, slow, persistent, and designed to get in someone's head. The Ford's bridge team watches the bearing. It doesn't move. It's a perfect sign that the ships are pacing instead of transiting. A steady bearing at sea means one of 2 things. collision course, or parallel shadowing. And these contacts aren't closing, which only leaves one option left. The CIC magnifies the radar feed. The spacing between the Venezuelan hulls is too exact to be a coincidence. Their course corrections come in tiny increments, 1 or 2 degrees at a time, always mirroring the Ford's motion by a fraction of a minute. It's the maritime version of someone keeping step with you on a sidewalk. No touching, no threatening, but making sure that you know they're there. The TAO logs it for the record. Pattern indicates deliberate shadow behavior, no hostile profile, recommended continue monitoring. The captain gives a small nod. Let's see how far they want to take this. On the flight deck, operations slow. No launches, no recoveries, just crew standing by, eyes scanning the horizon, waiting for the next move in a game neither side admitted they were playing. And the Venezuelan ships? They just keep matching. Every course line, every speed change, every mile. At 8:11 a.m., a soft alert pops onto the Ford's integrated sensor display. An altitude marker that shouldn't exist this far from land. CIC to bridge. We have a low-altitude UAV ping. Southern sector, range 5 miles. Everyone freezes for a second. Not because it's a threat, but because it's new. The Ford's E-2D Hawkeye, orbiting farther east, catches the object first. Its sensors sweep, lock, and classify. It's a small drone, likely launched from a coastal unit or a Venezuelan patrol site. Civilian-grade frame, military-style routing pattern. Unidentified UAV, altitude 180 feet, moving northwest, crossing the outer ring. It's not armed, it's not diving, it's not even approaching the carrier directly. But it's in the wrong place at the worst possible time. With 3 Venezuelan ships shadowing the Ford at sea level, adding a drone overhead muddies the picture fast. Nobody knows if the drone's operator understands where the Ford is or how close it's getting to a high-value strike group. The TAO radios the Hawkeye crew. Maintain track, no intercept, just eyes. Inside the Ford's bridge, tension rises just a notch. A drone this close could mean surveillance, or miscommunication, or just an operator testing range. But to a carrier strike group already being paced by 3 foreign patrol ships, it reads as something else entirely. Layers. Surface shadowing below, UAV observation above. Not hostile, but absolutely deliberate. The XO leans forward. Whatever this is, they're building a picture. And with every mile, that picture gets sharper. At 8:19 a.m., the pattern finally breaks. Not with aggression, but with a mistake. One of the Venezuelan ships, the middle Guy-Carey-class vessel, makes a sudden course adjustment. Not a smooth drift, not a gentle correction, a sharp, purposeful turn that slices diagonally across its previous track. Bridge, CIC. Contact 2, altering course, 20 degrees starboard, toward our lane. The bridge falls silent. That turn is too tight, too fast, and far too poorly timed to be routine. But it doesn't look like an attack either. The speed stays low, sensors remain cold, and its sister ships don't follow. The TAO scrolls through the intelligence notes again. One detail jumps out. Venezuela activated several coastal radar buoys earlier in the week. Old, inconsistent units with limited accuracy beyond short coastal ranges. If one of those buoys fed bad positional data to the patrol ship, it could easily cause this. A navigational correction based on a false fix. A correction that now looks like a cutoff attempt. The FOOW calls it out. Range decreasing. New bearing holds steady. If it continues on this line, they'll cross ahead of us. That's not bad seamanship. That's a safety violation. Only now does the USS McFall, one of the Ford's escorts, slide into the picture. Not aggressively, not at speed, but just enough movement to show that she's paying attention. The TAO lifts the mic. McFall, position for soft intercept. No signals, no warnings. A soft intercept means one thing: interpose without escalation. As McFall angles outward, the Venezuelan ship continues its misguided turn, likely following the faulty buoy's corrected track line. The Ford's captain watches the range count down. Let's hope they realize what they're doing. Because one more degree of turn and this stops being shadowing and it becomes a collision problem. At 8:23 a.m., the situation reaches the point every carrier captain trains for but hopes never has to see. The Venezuelan patrol ship, the same one that made the abrupt turn, is now drifting far closer than any vessel should be to a nuclear-powered carrier the size of a skyscraper on its side. Bridge, CIC, contact 2 inside 1.5 nautical miles, continuing to close. That's not just close. That's inside the Ford safety bubble, the invisible cushion every carrier keeps around itself to prevent collision, interference, or miscalculation. The Ford does not turn away. Carrier doctrine is simple: maintain stability unless safety demands otherwise. But right now, stability itself is the message. McFall shifts again, shifting into a guard position between the Ford and the approaching Venezuelan ship. It's a deliberate, unmistakable move. Not a threat, but a shield. The Ford's captain keeps his voice steady. Maintain heading, maintain speed. From the Venezuelan bridge, the view changes from shadowing a large ship to something very different. The Ford's superstructure rises higher than a city block. Her flight deck stretches longer than most runways. Her wake churns with the mass of a floating airbase, not a destroyer. And suddenly, the officers on that patrol ship realize the truth. They didn't just drift too close to a U.S. ship. They drifted too close to the U.S. ship. Then the moment hits. The Ford initiates a power turn. A wide, heavy arc meant purely for safety, but physics does the rest. When a 100,000-ton carrier shifts her angle by even just a few degrees, the ocean reacts like it's been punched. A rolling wall of displaced water surges outward from the Ford's bow, moving fast and rising higher than the Venezuelan ship anticipates. CIC, wake building, contact 2, adjusting late. Too late. The wake slams their hull with the force that jolts the entire vessel, sending equipment clattering and crew stumbling. Not dangerous, but absolutely impossible to ignore. The smaller Guaycamacudo-class ship behind it is forced to throttle back hard to avoid getting rolled. The Ford doesn't accelerate, doesn't signal, it doesn't weaponize anything. She just simply turns, and physics does what diplomacy couldn't. The Venezuelan captain finally gets the message. Engines spool up, rudder swings wide, and the three ships peel away from their parallel tracks, one right after the other. CIC calls it. Contacts disengaging, opening distance to 3 miles. 4, 5, shadow over. Picture complete. Crisis avoided not with missiles, but with momentum. By 8:37 a.m., the last Venezuelan patrol ship has fallen off the Ford's bearing line, drifting back towards its original patrol sector. No radio calls, no apology, just distance. The only real proof at sea that someone wants the moment to end. But the incident isn't quite finished. Not in the world above water. 2 hours later, a short, tightly edited clip appears on a Venezuelan state channel. 20 seconds, shot from the deck of one of the patrol ships. Just enough to show the Ford on the horizon and the caption, U.S. warship approached our patrol zone. No mention of faulty radar buoys. No mention of drifting inside the Ford's safety bubble. Just a narrative. Clean, simple, and politically useful. Washington's response is equally predictable, but far quieter. USS Gerald R. Ford conducted routine, lawful operations in international waters. No dramatics, no escalation, no blame. What happened that morning wasn't a confrontation. It was a perfect example of modern gray zone maneuvering. The quiet, deliberate games navies play just below the threshold of conflict. No missiles, no warning shots, just presence, pressure, and perception. A drone flown a little too far, a patrol ship trusting the wrong radar buoy, a carrier refusing to yield an inch. But see, these tiny decisions stack fast. One misread course line can snowball into a diplomatic headache. One mistaken turn can look like an attack. And one carrier-sized wake can end a standoff without a single word spoken. So tell me, if you were standing on the Ford's bridge that morning, would you have held your course or would you have played it safe? Drop your answer down below. I do read them all. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss the next one. And if you want to go a step further and support the channel directly, please join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority replies, and you'll help us bring more true maritime stories to the surface. Just head on over to our channel page and click join and get on board with us. Because let's be honest, it's a whole lot easier to analyze these close calls from home rather than 1.3 miles off a carrier's bow. I'll see you in the next one.